evening and welcome to the Power of Now. I am Coach Mitchell.
And I'm Coach Darren.
Tonight's discussion is going to be a continuation of week before last session of keeping it real, talking about ultra processed foods. We're going to have Coach Darren present from his I Am Well platform, where tonight he's going to discuss ultra processed foods, fake foods, but specifically tonight he's going to talk about flour and sugar, the white powder. Coach?
Thank you, Coach Mitchell. As Coach Mitchell said, this is a topic that has been shared on our the I Am Well platform. And as I mentioned before, the I Am Well platform is differentiated between other podcasts that we do, as the I Am Well platform goes into a little more detail regarding the subject matter. So like as Coach Mitchell said, tonight we're going to talk about nut, sugar, and flour, which is a key ingredient of ultra-processed foods. Now, again, I just want to mention this. If you see my eyes going back and forth between now and I'm looking up, unfortunately, I apologize that Coach Mitchell is sitting across from me, so when I'm speaking, I tend to look at her and then go back to the camera. So again, forgive me, not using my mind by looking up, at the ceiling. It's a habit that we both have dealt with before. We look at each other and then look at the camera. Mm-hmm. So, as Coach Mitchell said, this is a continuation of keeping it real as it relates to the foods that we consume. When we, talked a couple weeks ago, we basically talked about ultra-processed foods, what they were, and the damage that they do. And instead, we're specifically going to talk about sugar and flour. Now, why is that important? Because sugar and flour basically are in all processed foods. Why is that? Well, they've been refined to such that they become cheap ingredients, which makes ultra-processed foods cheap, which then lead to one of the factors that might be people buy them, which when you look at the health crisis that we're dealing with, especially in poor, socioeconomic challenged communities, why they tend to consume is because of the cost. And that's only just one factor. Mm-hmm. The other is the fact that they have access to these cheap products. Other part too is, quite a few factors. Other part is just lack of knowledge. So, why is this important? Well, one thing, because both of these are refined, I say refined foods, but once they've been refined, they're really no longer food. But for the simplicity of the discussion, we're going to refer to them as refined foods. And you want to kind of think about what happens when they refine sugar and flour. Well, the same thing as when they refine heroin and cocaine. Heroin comes from the poppy seed plant. Cocaine comes from the cocoa leaf. Well, when they're eating in natural form, they have little negative impact, depending on the body. We might get something close to a caffeine jolt, but nothing like sugar and flour does to us. Now, why is that? Because when you refine all of them, you're stripping away nature's nutrients. You're stripping away the other part of the plant, and you're basically leaving the part that is detrimental to one's health. Mm-hmm. So, when we think about some of the issues concerning sugar and yes.
Question on the screen for you.
Yes.
How do manufacturers refine sugar that makes it poisonous to our system?
Well, when they refine it, they're stripping away. They're basically just leaving the unhealthy parts by stripping away all of the nutrients and leaving basically like a simple carbohydrate.
Mm.
And just to be fair, there's a lot of talk about sugar. Sugar, even refined by itself in low quantities, tends not to be bad. See, that's not really our problem. What makes it bad is that it is in all of our foods. And plus, anywhere between 60 to 80% of our diet, of the average American diet, and I'm going to say the average diet in most affluent countries is processed foods. And most of those foods, whether it's packaged, if it's, even if it's in jars, if you look at even some of the sauces, they have sugar in it, some form of sugar. If you look at peanut butter, you got to look at the ingredients. You will see some peanut butter will have sugar in it. So it's the excess sugar that is causing the problem.
Now, Coach, is there a difference between natural sugar and high fructose corn syrup?
Yes, there is. All right.
Good evening, Dr. Nicole.
I posted something or I shared something. Actually, I did both. And the question that you Coach Mitchell, I said it may sound conspiratorial, but it really isn't. I said you connect the dots between food production, the prison system, healthcare, pharmaceuticals, school lunches, government policies. When you begin to peel back and connect the dots, you will see that there is a theme.
Okay.
Now, why did I say that? Because you asked about high fructose corn syrup. High fructose corn syrup is one of the cheap byproducts from processed sugars. So you get things like where they may refine cane sugar and produce high fructose corn syrup. And that became evident in the 70s.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. In the 70s, where they were competing, I believe it was Pepsi and Coke, were back and forth in competition, and one of them, I don't remember which one, realized that they came up with high fructose corn syrup as a cheap alternative, which gave them better pricing, and then it just spread. Other companies started using this. And the issue with this is because, again, it's a chemical, it's synthetic, and it's used in excess. And our bodies have a hard time digesting it. So you look at those two things again as high fructose corn syrup and sugar in general, refined sugar, that seems to be the problem.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I stopped drinking soda or pop or colas a couple of decades ago when I realized that high fructose corn syrup was not a natural ingredient. And I was drinking a 7-Up at the time realization hit when I started, for some reason, just looking up the ingredients that were in the can of 7-Up. And they used to tout themselves as a natural beverage. And when I saw high fructose corn syrup, I actually sent the company an email asking them why they had high fructose corn syrup in their beverage if they said it claimed that it was an all natural beverage. And I didn't get a response. And that told me all I needed to know.
Yes.
So I stopped drinking anything with high fructose corn syrup and eating anything with high fructose corn syrup in it because I realized that it was a man-made ingredient that just amplified the sugar content, sweetener, if you will. It wasn't even sugar, it's just the sweetener, just to satisfy our palate. So I think that that's crucial for people to know that there is a distinction
Yes.
between natural sugar and high fructose corn syrup.
Yes. One of the things, oh, go
No,
ahead.
I just wanted to address Dr. Nicole. She wants me to share this link, the post with the group, but I can't share it to page or the group because they're not members of the group. So I have to back out. I'll be right back, okay? So that I can get a link over to Michael Seven's page.
Oh, okay. So while you do that, follow to the other half of your question, natural sugars. Natural sugars are the things that we find in fruit. And begin their mixed beliefs on this. At one point, they used to say that natural sugars would be problematic for people with diabetes. I think that's been pretty much dispelled. That's no longer talked about, like, because our body, the processing of natural sugars is done differently than artificial sugar. One of the things that is different is when you get natural sugars, it's coming with also the nutrients, the fiber, and all of that adds to your overall health benefit. It also deals with absorption. Now, it even goes through, like I said, it's totally different process, and I don't want to be too deep into that. But just so you know, natural sugars, what we know as fructose, pretty much is fine with the body, but even in an abundance of that could become problematic. Some people say no, it doesn't. Some say yes, it does. Because our body is still processing. And one of the problems that we have is what I think an abundance of anything in the body will cause problems, because the body is a system that has to maintain homeostasis, basically it's a balance. And if we're overloaded with anything, the body has to process it. And if it's unable to process it, then it leads to problems. So keep that in mind. I am also a believer, yes, eat as much natural foods as you possibly can, but be mindful that you also want to be, one way you get to process is you move. You have to move so that your body can use that energy, because everything that we consume, your body's trying to convert it to energy. So that's one of the keys. That, if you're not moving, then a lot of the things that you consume, no matter whether it's unhealthy, it's worse, but it basically gets clogged in the system. It's not going to move, which is why you will notice that the more active you are, the better your bowels will work. Because your body's processing. What it needs is pushing out everything it doesn't. So when you get to kind of look at all of this, you kind of begin to see how well designed our bodies are. So when we go back to sugar, they found that there's a direct connection between our sugar consumption and a lot of chronic diseases, and one of them is obesity. There was a point where they talked about, it was the fats. And then they realized, no, it really wasn't the fat that was causing obesity. The fat was not really. It was really the sugar. Now, why is that? Well, there's this thing there's a hormone called lectin. And what we want to think about is, first of all, everything in the body is controlled by hormones, male or female. When we talk about hormones, they normally do what? They think about women having hormonal issues. But guess what, fellas? Human body, everything in the body is controlled by some hormone. And when the hormones are out of balance, it causes issues. Question?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So, like I said leptin, actually it's leptin. Sorry about that. Leptin is what you find in the foods. Leptin is a hormone that basically tells the brain that you're full. Mhm. It's actually kind of the opposite of the hormone called uh, ghrelin, I believe is how it's pronounced, ghrelin, which basically tells your body that you're hungry. But leptin, the thing is that they found out, like back in the 90s, that there was an issue with leptin. Because the way it works is when you start to accumulate fat, the leptin sends a signal to the brain, you know, stop eating, stop moving. And it worked fine for centuries. But you begin to realize it wasn't working anymore. That the leptin wasn't, you know, wasn't completing the message to their brain to tell people to stop eating. So people were in this state of hunger, even though they may have just, you know, had a meal, or ate something. But it's not the same. The difference between hunger and craving. We'll get to craving in a second. But you're always hungry. Well, because your body doesn't know that you're full. Why doesn't your body know that you're full? Because the leptin is blocked in the brain. What is causing that blockage? Insulin. What causes insulin? What? To rise in your system? Sugar, flour, refined foods. So you begin to see the connection. Now, we talked about that, a couple of weeks ago. Well, if you're eating, sugars, refined sugars, and flours, you'll find that you will you're more likely to continuously be hungry. Because it's doing something else besides blocking the hormone leptin, which means and if I don't know if everybody's ever had that experience where you're snacking on cookies. You eat some cookies, and you're hungry.
Well, the same can be said nowadays for cereal.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
If you eat a sugar-based cereal, it's more or less a prelude to breakfast. Because no sooner than you eat a bowl, your hunger cravings are back.
Yes. And here's the catch with that, Coach, is that if you're eating a sugar that's supposed to be healthy, or sugar that's high in fiber, again, it's a pretty good chance it's going to cause you to move your bowels, and you're going to be thinking, oh, that's why I'm hungry, because I ate something healthy. In reality, that may not be the case. If that healthy cereal is also loaded with sugar, that may be a cause why you're still hungry. So again, this is happening on a kind of a deeper level, on a hormonal level. So you want to be really conscious of the foods that you're consuming. This just an exercise is just not reading labels. And this is going to be maybe a little disappointing. You may feel a certain kind of way when you pick up everything and you want to see sugar.
You have to put it down.
You have to put it down.
But the good news to that, Coach, is that there are healthier alternatives that are way more satisfying than some of these sugar-laden, food products. When we talk about cookies, I can't eat, let's say, a name brand cookie like an Oreo, because I have that aftertaste, and that sits on the back of my tongue. And my taste buds are like, no, they repel it. And I don't like that aftertaste. So, again, there are healthier alternatives. You just have to look for them.
Yes. And you begin to ask yourself, why do you need sugar in certain food products? And again, I go back to peanut butter. That was one of the things that one of the earlier food products that I became very much aware of. Why is there sugar in peanut butter? Now, some of you may not eat peanut butter for health reasons, all right, and that's fine. But for those that do, try to pick up peanut butter that only has peanut butter, peanuts, and possibly salt. If you have other ingredients in there, you know what, I would recommend putting it back. Now, at the same time, this is where you be mindful of distinguishing between brand names and store, what names, store manufacturers. Here's the thing. Sometimes brand names will have the sugar, and the store versions will not. So you really have to pick up and look at the labels. And then you ask yourself, why are they putting sugar in all of these products? Because they found that sugar and flour are addictive. It hits the part of the brain and does a release of dopamine the same way drugs do. People have argued, some experts have argued that people can't be addicted to sugar or flour because they're foods. And there's no such thing as food addiction, which the counter argument is, yes, there is something called food addiction. And then the other, the counter argument also is, are they really foods? Because if you strip nutrients from anything, technically it's no longer food. Because food that was designed for us to consume has nutrients, because food basically is information for the body. When you eat whole foods, your body basically sends a message to your body to do something with those foods.
You said information, not inflammation.
Right. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Okay. Right. Let's repeat that. Yes, it's information for the body. Whole natural foods is sending information to the body. When it's not whole natural foods, it's more synthetic, then you are triggering, what you just said, inflammation. And it's been found that basically sugar and flour and ultra-processed foods are related to basically causing systemic inflammation, which is basically inflammation throughout the entire body. So now you can connect the dots between that, not just obesity, but to other health issues. Remember, inflammation is basically the underlying cause for all chronic diseases. Chronic diseases are basically metabolic diseases. It means there's something wrong with how our bodies metabolize. So with that, it causes the whole thing from high blood pressure, high cholesterol, coronary heart disease, so forth and so on. And I mentioned this, I think, before. You go to the doctor, you get a medication for each one of those diseases. When in reality, a couple things, you need to make note of this. You do not treat diseases that are caused by diet with medication. Again, you do not treat diseases caused by diet or caused by food with medication. You treat it by addressing the foods that cause it. One of the ways you can do that is removing the foods that are triggering the inflammation.
Coach, that reminds me that, I love a good My 600-Pound Life episode. And one of the things that is impressed upon the patients is that they have to restrict their diets and not just go on a diet, but an alternative lifestyle.
Yes.
And what they had become accustomed to, which was laden with sugars and processed foods and fast foods. And for those that have been successful, if you ever watch that show, it is because they have followed the prescription of healthier eating, meaning they're changing their diets and they're eliminating the fast foods, the sugary foods like the sodas and the snack cakes, the high carbs, empty carbs, and exercise. So those that are not successful, even in a couple of pounds, if they have lost 30 pounds, an excessive amount of weight in a month, even before they have the surgery, they are able to drop the weight if they stick to the caloric diet,
Yes.
if you will, that they're given. But point being, even within a 30-day period, people are able to lose 50, 60, 80, 100 pounds, cutting out those modified foods, those
Yes.
processed foods, and just by changing the way they eat.
Yes. Now, the example that you just mentioned, these are people who are in a, let's say
They're at the end
yes,
of their,
yes,
you know, this is their last resort.
yes, it's the last resort, which is why the response or the things that they have to do seems severe. They go on a low caloric diet that's very restrictive. For the average person, you don't have to be that extreme if you move sooner. Kind of follow maybe the same principle. And like one of the things, I advise that you don't necessarily have to go on a restricted diet, because I know that can be really hard. Again, depending on where you are on your journey. And I always say, if there's no other health issues and your real focus is, I just want to start losing weight, my recommendation is cut out, the ultra processed foods, the sugar, refined refined flour, and focus on eating more natural whole foods. I start people off saying, don't even worry about calorie counting. Just focus on consuming more whole foods. Because your body, like I said, again, it's more of a natural state of being. Some of you, who may get my text messages, that I really emphasize that, health is our natural state. Disease is not, and we've come to normalize disease. That people say, well, yeah, I'm 50, I'm 60, whatever, this comes with age. No, it does not. It comes from our lifestyle. Now, there are people into 80s and 90s who are living a very healthy, disease-free, life. So, they are at the point now where they're figuring out ways to possibly reverse the aging process. And I find this interesting because we have not even lived out the proper aging process yet. And there are segments of society that are working on reversing. So think about that. Are we behind the curve again? So I challenge people to really start being mindful and conscious of the foods that you put into your body. And like I said, I always say just whole natural foods. It's okay if you get your snack in here and there. That's this is not about trying to convince people that you have to eliminate everything. If you do, it's better, but you don't have to, But you do want to get your whole foods in. So, that's kind of swinging back to, sugar and flour. And I just want to,
Coach, that's going to be my biggest
yes,
challenge.
yes.
And I know, for my brothers and sisters in the ministry, my biggest challenge is going to be eliminating bread.
Okay.
I love bread.
Okay.
I love bread. I eat bread morning, noon, and night, and snack in between, accompanied by my popcorn, which is my second favorite, which is a good snack. But what do you think are some of the things that you can do to sort of eliminate the craving for those types of carbs?
Okay, you're like doing a sugar, yeah, we'll say like a sugar or refined flour detox. Believe it or not, there are places just like, drug detox. There are places where you can go for sugar detox. The thing is, like I said, is, you can wean yourself off. And this is, again, if there's no underlying health issues, you know, uh, you can just wean yourself off. And one of my sayings is, if you don't bring it in the house, you can't put it in your mouth. This is one of the things when I realized that my diet had gone off the rails. And I could really tell by the way I was feeling. And as most people, you start with, I know I need to do this, I need to do this, but you don't. But you keep saying, but one of the things was, because this goes back to craving, right? Difference between hunger and cravings. When you crave something, but you're not hungry anymore, but you're craving, like there's something missing. So that becomes, again, this is where you want that dopamine hit. This is where the addiction comes in. Unlike the hunger, which is caused by the leptin being blocked, the craving is more of, I need a dopamine hit. What does that sound like? That sounds like an addiction.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you deal with those kind of things? They say you don't want to rely on willpower, at least not for the long run. Now, the way I did was, you go in the supermarket, you pretty much tell yourself, all I have to do is walk by that aisle that has those cookies that I always eat. If I can walk by that aisle and get out the store, for me, I'm good. Because I had already got to the point that I knew if I turned around and went back in the store, I had a problem.
Yes.
And I wasn't going to say, I'm not going to go out like that. So there was something that I was trying to kick the habit. I found, what's that moment that I have to make the decision? Do I drive by the store? Do I walk by the aisle? Whatever it might be. Now, something else that I probably did earlier, and it was really just out of how I felt. And this, years ago, I would tell people, we change when the pain outweighs the pleasure. For me, I remember where eating ice cream was no longer pleasurable.
Now, is that because you overindulged, or because it had a negative impact on your body?
I think it was a little bit of both. I think when it comes to dairy products, there are many, who believe in, one of the dairy products really are not good for us as humans, especially when it comes to things like milk. You may have heard me say before, animal milk is really not designed for the human body. The majority of the world, especially people of all colors, I think Europeans are the only ones who are not lactose intolerant. The rest of the world population, Asians, people of African descent, we tend to be lactose intolerant. We're just not, and in those countries where they're lactose intolerant, milk was not part of their cultural diet. So, having said that, my experience was probably recognizing that I was lactose intolerant. And again, you can I could have been lactose intolerant my whole life,
Right, right.
I think it showed up probably the overconsumption and the lack of movement.
Okay.
I think when we're more active, our body works its way through. I think that's why when we're youthful allows us to get through things that, probably are not healthy for us, but our body it's just, it's
It
working
can
on
process it
cylinders.
and break
Yes,
it down.
break it down. We get older, we tend to become less active. Our body's not processing the foods we're putting in it.
Or maybe we think it's breaking it down, and it breaks it down to a certain point, but the long-term impact is still there.
Yes.
Um,
Go ahead.
Let me ask you a question. I want to jump back to bread, the flour. Is one flour any better for you than the other?
Okay.
But should we sort of migrate to versus, staying away from?
Okay. I can pretty much tell you what to stay away from off the top of my head, and that is bleach, flour, refined flour, um, a bread that I just found out within the last year that was considered one of the better breads is, sourdough bread. And may have mentioned this on one of our, other segments. That sourdough bread is fermented, and fermented foods tend to be healthier, better for us. So if you're looking for bread, I would probably say sourdough bread might be uh, a better option, and you stay away from enriched, bleached, and refined flours.
Okay. So, and sourdough bread comes in a lot of different varieties.
Yep.
So, I'm satisfied that I can satisfy my bread craving with sourdough. I love the texture, I love the taste, and yeah. So I won't overindulge, but I know that can be a source of one, I guess, nutritional value as
Yes.
well.
And I just want to stress this to you. If you're on a health and wellness journey, it doesn't have to be, it's not an all or nothing. Whatever you want to do. Some people like, if I do this health and wellness, and I just got to eat all this bland food. I got to cut out everything. And no, that's not what this is about. I stress to people, you choose your target. You choose something that's going to work within your lifestyle. You choose your balance. So for instance, if your advice is going to be, I'm going to eat bread, then be mindful of the breads that you eat, and then don't overindulge. If you want to have your cupcake or your cookie, I always say this again, barring if there's no health issues. Because if you have underlying health issues, then you have to be particular about your decisions. But the principle is you always make the best decision in every situation.
Right, and everything in moderation.
Yes.
Everything in moderation. Well, at least most things in moderation.
Yes.
Some things elimination, but most things in moderation.
Because I heard, I don't know if it was a nutritionist or it could have been a doctor, say, we always say certain things in moderation, but would you drink a cup of gasoline? No, you wouldn't. Well, that's moderation, but you know what? It doesn't apply. So yes, certain things that are harmful to the body, you want to eliminate. So again, how do you get started? I'd probably say, the first thing is decide what you want. Decide that, let me just also back up, because you did mention, Coach Mitchell, your congregation is preparing for a fast. And some people, you may make it the last minute, I know I've done that over the years. It's like, okay, all right, I'll start my fast tomorrow. Tonight I'm going to eat or drink this last whatever. Mhm. Well, actually, that makes the fasting a little bit more difficult. So if you got a target date for your, starting your fast, you may want to start making the adjustments before that start date. Mhm. It just prevents having to go, sort of cold turkey. This gives your body the chance to begin acclimating and adjusting. Yes.
Because water is key to fasting and staying hydrated. So I think, increasing the water intake along with eliminating some of these things from their diet, and also reducing the quantity of what we're eating from our diet.
Yes. And this kind of connects to other things that we talked about being in the now and being mindful, because that's where we sort of lose controls. Sometimes like losing awareness when we're in the moment of something, doing something that we shouldn't be doing, where we forget why we're supposed to be doing it or not doing it. And when you stay in the moment and you have that awareness that I should not be eating these cookies, you have that conversation with yourself, and you could possibly, as I say, talk yourself off the ledge. You know what? Put the cookies back. You know what? For those who, if it's another vice, like people who have an addiction, you mentioned earlier, addiction to soda, this is something that you really should eliminate out of your regular diet. Yeah, if you have one once, I don't know, every few weeks, or you're at an event and you have something, okay.
I'm going to caveat that and disclaim. Get a soda that's made with cane sugar and not high fructose corn syrup.
Yes.
Or you can make your own by buying flavored water and fruit juice.
Mm-hmm.
And we are big on juicing. You can make your own fruit juice and just add the seltzer. The carbon is really what you're craving.
The fizz.
Along with the sweetness. So I think a natural sweetener is going to do you better than drinking that name brand beverage with high fructose corn syrup in it. Because the daily recommended dosage of sugar is 18 grams. A carbonated beverage like a cola has over 56 grams of sugar in it.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine someone drinking 2-3 sodas a day.
And that's a can.
And that's an 8-ounce
yes,
can.
Yes.
8 or 12-ounce can. So, you have to be mindful about your intake because, as you said, Coach, that impacts your endocrine system.
Mm-hmm. Your hormones
are really impacted. And it really, if you're mindful and you're in tune with your body, you can feel the impact it's having on the system. Go to sleep after eating something sweet, and when you wake up, you're going to feel lethargic. You're going to feel sore. I mean, it's going to really put you in a really uncomfortable position as far as physically how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
Now, drink water before you go to bed and wake up the following day. You're going to feel refreshed, and you're not going to have that feeling like you've been drugged.
Right. And you've heard me say before, and I'm also my philosophy is you got to connect the dots. And when it comes to our health, like I said, there's so many variables, but you always want to look, can I connect my eating habits to how I'm feeling? Because there's definitely a connection. Mm-hmm. As Coach Mitchell said, you eat something, even eating before you go to bed, regardless of what it is, has an impact on how you feel when you wake up. Why? Because your body, when it should be resting, it's digesting.
Mhm.
So therefore, you wake up and you feel groggy because you really did not get proper sleep. So you want to begin, connecting these dots. And I pretty much will guarantee you, if you connect the consumption of water with the fasting, yeah, and if you're fasting, and they recommend that you really don't want your last meal to be 2 to 3 hours before you go to sleep. And that's really difficult because we are so conditioned to eating nonstop throughout the day. You know, and we know we pretty much know we want that last meal, and yeah, now I can just go, and I can just totally fall out. That's really not good for us.
Yep.
You know?
And I also think that, even though we're specifically preparing, and this discussion was specifically prepared for, Micah 7 to help prepare for the upcoming fast. You've done this before in the broader session of I Am Well, when you had nutritionists on to help talk about, um, bring awareness to the community about the different foods, ingredients, I should say, that contribute to our overall health in America. And I think that eliminating sugar, especially for, well, I'm not even going to put that out there. Eliminating sugar will definitely help with eliminating that bulge in the waistline, because that's where the fat tends to initially accumulate, is in the abdomen. So if you're trying to lose that, eliminating sugar, and okay, bread, enriched breads
And the
from the
flowers.
diet,
Yep.
the flours, it's going to help flours. It's a reduction of
Yes.
which I think a lot of people
Yes.
know.
You know, participate in, several health and wellness groups, and it is amazing thing that people who switch their diet, and some people have chosen to do a pure fruit fast. Some people back down. One of the common things is people doing a watermelon fast. Uh, you know what? I'm not a big proponent of telling people to just do that in general, but I also don't say don't do it. It's one of those things where you have to know your body and you have to decide on where you are before doing any kind of like a mono diet. But the people who've done it successfully, they've managed to just lose weight in large amounts of weight. Well, because you also are restoring your body back to its natural state. This goes back to the point. We are not meant to be sick. We're not meant to be overweight. If anybody has if you have a photo album of pictures of, say, your parents' generation or grandparents' generation and an event, take a look at those pictures and just see how many overweight people are in those pictures.
Or really are not present. Or not present.
Yes, not present. Previous generations, just look at how many people. No, it's not that they lived a strict dietary, they had a strict dietary lifestyle, but you won't see a whole lot of obese people. But part of that's been tied to ultra processed foods. Back then, even if they were not living a healthy lifestyle, they also were not consuming a lot of the junk food that we consume today. Well, how did that happen? Well, one, a lot of it just was not produced. The other thing, people cook, more home. They cook more at home. They incorporated more wholesome, more whole vegetables and fruits. This goes back to what people talk about. When we were kids, we ate a bunch of junk food, and You know what? Well, the food was different.
Yeah, and even just speaking to your point, if you look back several decades ago, or generations, if you will, one, they couldn't afford eating out
Right.
on a regular basis. And by eating out, by that I mean fast food, was, it was, what's my word? It was a privilege,
Yes.
and it was something that they did very rarely, you know. And in comparison to today, mothers are working, fathers are working, they don't have time to be in the kitchen cooking, so what do? They stop and buy Little Johnny or Little Johnny, right? So kids are accustomed to eating more fast food than what, even I was at,
Yes.
at that age. So I think access to play a big part,
Yes.
So
And that's like I said, where we are today is all of those things coming together, such as we have, what, I'd say 60 to 80% of most diets in industrialized countries are comprised of processed, ultra processed foods. We become so accustomed to it that we don't even think about it. And I give you an example. I remember going through a thing where you go to the supermarket, you go to a deli counter, and you buy things like, oh, give me sliced turkey, uh, sliced roast beef. And it's like, oh, give me the lean, blah, blah. Well, a lot of those meats are not good for you, not because it's meat, because it's also being processed. And we won't even talk about processed meats that come in the cellophane bag that's over in the like the milk section, the dairy section, when you're buying bologna made by manufacturers that we all grew up with. What? You realize that processed meats are level 1 carcinogen. They're rated the same level as tobacco. So you want to be mindful of those things. So it's really just going back to eating. If you eat more natural whole foods, you are likely just to begin dropping weight, unless you are just consuming a lot of it. So just kind of keep that in mind. Also, going back to sugar, this is important. Sugar has been determined by multiple studies to feed cancer. It doesn't cause cancer, but it feeds cancer cells, which is why if you are a cancer patient, one of the first things that they will probably do, if they're really trying to get you healthy, one of the first things would be to remove sugar from your diet. Because you connect that to the body being what they call an alkaline state versus an acidic state. And as cancer will, thrive when your body's more acidic. How does it become more acidic? By eating unhealthy foods. When we're in an alkaline state, basically it's a disease cannot survive in an alkaline state. So cancer cells feed on sugar. Again, this is not something made up. All you gotta do is probably Google it, and it's a known fact. So another reason why you want to be mindful of your sugar consumption, because the other thing when it comes to diseases like cancer, cancers rarely, if ever, happen suddenly. They're usually due to accumulation of unhealthy habits, and something in the body causes cells to malfunction, which then will trigger the beginning of cancer, and then the diet, the sugar, all those things will just kind of feed those cells, and before we realize it, we're yeah, we're sick.
Yep. Coach, we have about 4 minutes left. Can you talk a little bit about mental clarity
Okay.
as it relates to, even disease states like ADHD?
Okay. Whew. I'm glad you brought that up. Going back to the sugar as it relates to diabetes, relates to inflammation, and sugar is not a direct cause, you know, a direct cause of diabetes per se. It's really the impact on insulin, which then has an, you know, affect diabetes. But then it also has, talking about mental clarity, the abundance of sugar can again has been triggered with young kids to uh, ADHD. Mhm. They've done studies where they removed sugar and processed foods from the diet, and a good percentage of the kids could be removed from their medication. For adults, it's, you know, there's a direct correlation, possibly even causation between, uh, again, sugar, inflammation, and uh, dementia or neurodegenerative diseases, normally Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's is now typically known as diabetes type 3. Brain fog, which could be one of the precursors to uh, neurodegenerative diseases, is usually caused by, again, definitely caused by diet. And one of those things could be, again, the ultra processed food, the sugars, you know, um, you know, that could be in our system that could be causing us to have brain fog. Mhm. Uh, we'll be mindful too when it comes to things like that. The sugar spikes. Mhm. You know, some say that sugar spikes can be just as unhealthy as having a high baseline of insulin. Even though the high baseline of insulin, the insulin baseline is an issue, which should be addressed. But even if you're constantly having spikes, and this might come from someone who, again, you get that, I gotta have a sugar rush. I need to feed, so I'm gonna go have me 3 or 4 sodas because I'm thirsty. Now I'm bouncing off the wall and then I crash. And I'm doing this on a regular basis. That's not good either. So um, it's all connected. And I now ask people, are you, you know, are your eating habits such that it looks like you have a grudge against yourself? No. Or are your eating habits more aligned with, I care about myself? Mhm. I mean, there's so much information out there, and people say, well, how do I decipher all of it? One, you want to look at the context of the information, who's ever, giving it. Is it given in sincerity? Is it given like they're trying to sell you something? Is it given that they're trying to create fear? Because that does exist, we know that. But if you just want to start, you start by doing simple things. It's pretty good chance if it uh, has a label or if it has a paragraph attached to the product, it's probably not something that you want to consume. If it has no labels, it's probably a good thing, as a general rule. Mhm. So again, mentioned this before, when you go to the store, shop the perimeter. Add more fruits and vegetables to your diet. If you can, eat as healthy as you can afford, that's the other thing. Even on a low budget, you can make wise choices. It, step away from, there's certain things you just really want to eliminate starting now. If you cannot eliminate it, that means you are addicted. What are those things? I think you touched on this, Coach Mitchell. Fast foods. There is nothing in a major fast food restaurant that you should be putting in your body. If you did research, watch documentaries, understand that the worst cuts of meat are sold to fast food restaurants because it's cheap food. That's the key. Same thing with ultra processed food. They're cheap foods. Therefore, they're more profitable. Here's the thing you want to think about. The next time you go into the store, I want you to look at the cost, again, for a bottle of soda versus a bottle of water of equal size. Compare the prices. Ask yourself, why is the soda cheaper? It's been bottled by the same manufacturing process, bottling process, has more ingredients, and it's been delivered to the same place. But yet the soda is cheaper. You get 3 big old liters of soda, yeah, for $6 maybe.
I don't buy soda.
Yeah.
So I don't know the cost. The point is, be mindful.
Yes, just look at it. The thing is, if you want to be a rebel, start taking care of yourself, because then you impact the food system, you impact the pharmaceutical system, and you impact the healthcare system. They're all connected. USDA, FDA. This is not conspiratorial. It just is. So, best thing you can do is just begin taking care of yourself, eliminating that which is not natural. Just begin eliminating it from your diet. And your diet is not just what you put in your mouth, it's what you put in your thought process, what you put on your skin, all the products. Begin looking at the labels, begin removing them from your lifestyle.
All right, Coach, we're a little bit past the hour, and I think that about wraps it up. I want to thank you so much on behalf of, I'll say, Mighty Seven Ministries. Thank you for putting these 2 sessions together for us to bring us some really good content and some really good starting points in helping us to get through our corporate fast. Listen, there you have it from Coach Darren from his IMO platform. Remember, Coach Darren is a certified health and wellness coach, and there is something to be said about someone who's willing to pour out into you to help you along your health and wellness journey. So, as we do when we appreciate those who give to us, go ahead. I am 1961 Cash App him, letting you know that you appreciate all of his knowledge, his wealth of knowledge, his time and effort that he put into giving us, again, this really good content to get us jump started ahead of our fast. So, Coach, any last comments?
You or any of your congregation always feel to reach out to Coach Mitchell or myself if you have additional questions.
All right, there you have it. Listen, I'm Coach Mitchell.
And I'm Coach Darren.
Join us next time we present on the Power of Now, Tuesday nights, usually at 8 p.m. Wednesdays for Inside Outside on Wellness Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening, and I pray that you're all successful in accomplishing what we set out to do as far as cleaning up our temple so that we can get to our breakthrough. All right?
Awesome.
Have a great evening.
Good night.